GN, everyone, and welcome to another episode of FOMO Hour. Today is Wednesday, September 17th, 2025. Folks, finally here. It is FOMC day today, and we are finally going to find out, will Too Late Pal continue to be late, or will it catch up and do the needful? And what does all that mean for our Magic Internet money? We're going to break it all down on today's show. I'm your host, Tyler D. No Farouk, no Mando. They're at a gaming conference today, but we brought in Logan for support. Logan, Gia, how you doing?
Hey, good morning, Tyler. I'm doing well. Beautiful day here in rural Pennsylvania. The leaves are starting to change. It's a pretty nice time of year, so I'm feeling pretty good. Can't complain.
Our listeners may not know this. Logan and I had the chance to meet up Saturday afternoon in downtown Chicago for the first time ever in our multi-year partnership working together. It was great to finally meet. Logan, how was your Chicago experience this past week?
Oh, it was great, man. We were so jam-packed, our schedule, from basically touchdown to, take off. We were on the go. Lots of great food, lots of great drinks, great people as well. Cubs won while we were there. Beautiful weather. Can't complain. I have my fiance just passed her boards for physician assistant, and I have her looking at maybe some Chicago jobs as well. So
hey,
it made that strong of an impression. I've been there before a handful of times. She has not been, but it's made at least the list for maybe a peruse of the job boards.
Good to hear. We avoided the National Guard. We avoided ICE as well, so that was a successful part of the weekend. Well, folks, what are we talking about on today's show? We got a lot to talk about. It is FOMC day. We're going to talk about that. Some news out of NVIDIA, Eli Lilly, and broader macro. In crypto, $4 billion Solana DAT incoming. We got to talk about that. Bank of America, their latest comments, their latest poll results. Fund managers, nobody owns crypto. What does that mean for us? Binance is coming back. They're escaping their compliance box that the prior DOJ put them in. OpenSea, their final phase of rewards, folks. It looks like it's going to have multiple seasons. So we'll break that down. Linea, trading at TVL. Is there a trade there? Tether co-founder launches the stable token, runs all the way to 1.7 billion. LimeWire is buying the Firefest band. Jack Butcher's got a big NFT drop today. We'll talk about that. And Punk Strategy has some new competition. We guessed Pudgy Strategy would be next. It looks like that has indeed debuted. So we'll talk about that and a lot more on today's show. Charlie, maybe give us some intro music and we'll dig in.
For daily NFT and crypto analysis, Tyler D on FOMO Hour calls the kid can't miss.
Ready to patch some barriers.
All right, folks. Give me 1 second. I'm getting the screen share all set up for those who are in the stream. Give me 1 second. We'll dig right into crypto majors. Here we are. Bitcoin. Oh, we're up. Looks like we're pumping here a little bit after the morning head fake. Bitcoin up 1%, 116,230. ETH up 1%, 4,500. Solana up 1% at 235. In macro stocks, a couple big headlines today. So we got a big one out of NVIDIA. It looks like China is going to ban all of its companies from buying NVIDIA chips. Interestingly, NVIDIA stock down, I think 1% to 2%, not a huge hit. So perhaps this was somewhat expected, or there's going to be workarounds expected. I thought maybe there'd be a bigger hit on that headline. So it looks like it's not that bad. Stocks are broadly flat. I mean, the Dow's up 0.5%. S&P and NASDAQ effectively flat on the day. So it looks like we're probably going to be largely flat until we get this big FOMC decision here at 1 p.m.? 2 p.m. 2 p.m. Eastern, I believe, is the conference. I'll double check that time for you here during the show, folks. CME odds has one cut, 94% chance, two cuts, or a 50 bips cut rather, at 6%. Polymarket a little bit higher. So I don't know if this is just the Moon Boys wanting to get that bet in. They've got 50 bips at 8% over on Polymarket. Interestingly enough, if you've been tracking this market closely, 50 bips was down to 3% last night. it looked like it was over. It looked like it was a done deal. Yeah, it went below 3, 2.9%. And then anyone who bought that dip has a hell of a trade. They're up 150%.
Wait, does that say down 9% on the week?
Yeah, so at peak, this was at a 20% chance
Jeez.
a week ago. And I'm not exactly sure what changed to make folks drop it this substantially. I think there's been some inflation data come in, some new jobs data, but those jobs revisions, the massive jobs revisions is still what was so top of mind for me. And disclosure, I am on 50 bips and I added to the position last night at 3%. So I'll be rooting for the 50 bips cut here today. I do think there is a chance Powell will do this, that largely on the back of these massive jobs revisions. So the jobs data they've been using to inform all of their decisions for this year has just been totally incorrect and off by orders of magnitude. So that's my primary rationale. I think the pushback is that will that be seen as him giving in to Trump? So I think that's the primary case for 25 bips, and it's just easier, ruffle less feathers. Curious for your take on this, Louis.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing outside in terms of data or anything like that, but anecdotally, just following this myself and Powell's actions, 25 just feels like the play. Like, as you said, not ruffling any other feathers. They've been too late, right? That's what Trump calls them, too late Powell, or, insert a bunch of other adjectives I think he's thrown in there as well. They've just been cautious. They've been perhaps actually late. Again, characterize it however you wish, but I feel like they're going to, play this small, play this safe, if you want to call it that, and then reevaluate. That's just the way it feels to me based on the last few months of, the back and forth here about whether a rate cut would come or not, and then, how big it might be.
It's a tricky one. How are you positioned?
I have no wagers on this particular market or anything like that. Yeah, I know, right? I can't use MYRIAD, and I just haven't been using Polymarket or anything at this point in time. So I have no wagers on it. I wish, looking back, when this got down, that 50 bips was it in like the 1 to you said 3% overnight, but was there a point in time where it was in like the 1% range? I feel like it was like really low.
It got down to 2.
Yeah. That's realistically when I should have. And you had started to take a position there, or at least talk about taking a position there, and some other smart friends of ours doing the same. I probably should have jumped the gun there and just never did, and have been sitting on the sideline. Of course, I'm positioned, plenty of my net worth is invested in this market alongside you folks as well. So the cut is going to affect me one way or the other. Didn't feel the need, I guess, to go out of my way to double down on a particular cut size.
What gets the most interesting bet, I think, coming out of the FOMC decision is total rate cuts in 2025. And 3 cuts, which is the broad consensus, is only at 49% on Polymarket right now. If you look at the CME board December odds, they've got it at 69%. So a pretty huge margin difference there between CME's 3 cut odds and Poly's 3 cut odds. If it's 25 bips, I think you're meant to slam this 75. If it's a 50, then I'm probably slamming the 100. You have to look at it at least at 9, right? Because then you're just talking 25. And it's hard to imagine a scenario where they come out with 50 and then they don't follow it up the next months. So that's how I'm thinking about it. 35% for 2 cuts. What is the CME? Yeah, I guess that's 25% on CME for that. So it's somewhat in line. This is another market I'll be paying attention to here this afternoon. There's also mentions markets. Easy, shout out to Easy. He's been grinding the words markets, everything that Powell is going to say. So there's going to be some entertainment in today's FOMC meeting. Go check those out if you're interested on betting the individual words that Jerome Powell will say. Let me see if I can find it. What will Powell say during the press conference today? All right. Inflation 40 times, inflation 50 times. Less interested in ones like this. Let's see where this, let's go down the list. Probability at 38%. Saying the word Trump at 18%. That feels like a no. I feel like he'll just say the president. He won't call out Trump by name. Recession at 50%. Where this gets interesting is you never know what kind of questions he's going to get, right? So Powell comes out, he delivers his remarks, and then he takes, 30 minutes of questions? Maybe a bit more than that. So depending where some of these questions go, leading questions could get into some of these. I don't know. Nothing's necessarily jumping out to me that much at these odds.
If the job stuff is so important, such an impact, AI, artificial intelligence sort of feels, I don't know. I've not stalked these. I don't really particularly watch these or, scrutinize them in any way. So of course, folks like Easy, who may be paying much closer attention, running actual models on the mentions markets, those should be your source of truth, or experts, I should say. Some of those are a little interesting to me.
Yeah. Gotta love the mentions models that folks are.
They are fun.
They are fun. It's a more easy way you can bet on this tie, I want to say as well. So what does all this mean for our internet coins? So Bitcoin 116.2. Interestingly, I saw this headline over on Decrypt. It looks like the ancient whales, they don't want to see us run. They're doing their best to keep prices artificially down. I saw this headline. 2 dormant Bitcoin whales have moved upwards of 2,000 Bitcoin in the past 3 days. This one whale, this wallet, received 1,000 Bitcoin back in 2013. It looks like they're moving it around. That's $116 million in Bitcoin effectively. So you've got whale action like this, likely some volatility ahead of this afternoon. But I guess maybe zooming out, like Logan, we talked maybe a little bit about this. What's your perspective for broader Q4 beyond FOMC here today?
Yeah, I feel pretty good. Nothing like outlandish. Like, I'm not calling for 250K Bitcoin or anything like that, but I've been, I don't know, pleasantly surprised with the strength. What did we get down to, like 107, maybe a little bit lower than that here in the local bottom from the last couple of weeks. I feel pretty good because it does feel like, we haven't necessarily had a period of mania headline wise. But at the same time, there's been a steady stream of like these negative headlines that have infused themselves in. The BTC whale thing, you had the ETH rotation thing, right? That was whale driven as well. Those individuals who were selling off their entire Bitcoin stacks from 2013 for ETH. And we've held. I'm not looking at technical indicators. I don't know exactly what the range bottom is or anything like that. I don't particularly care. I feel quite steady, and the people who are in charge here, say what you will about Trump, Eric Trump, etc., they're calling for higher and higher, and it doesn't feel like a time in which you really want to fade the people who are in the know. There's so many potential like large catalysts out there. If there's a strategic reserve type thing, like more details and announcements on that, continued demand from the DATs, continued inflows from the ETFs. You have the 401k thing, right? That's already a headline that's probably been lost. That could open up trillions of dollars. It just feels like, I don't know. I don't want to say sleeping giant because it is what it is, right? Like Bitcoin, of course, has had a tremendous year, but I'm feeling cautiously optimistic and feel totally okay right now.
I feel like people are sleeping on this strategic Bitcoin reserve. And I said on yesterday's show, so Sailors in DC talking with Loomis about the Bitcoin Act and how they can get this off the ground. As I understand it, China has been stockpiling gold at an accelerating pace, and they're the primary driver behind this gold price action. And gold's just going parabolic, hitting new all-time highs, right? That's an interesting backdrop for a potential driver for how the U.S. could position a Bitcoin strategic reserve, right? Like China's going after gold. The U.S. is going to stay more crypto native and go after digital gold. So I think that's a potential narrative I haven't seen a whole lot of folks mention. Because I think one of the key questions is how do you justify using taxpayer money to go out and market buy Bitcoin? And that's a tough question to get past, and I'll acknowledge that as well. We've talked about all the delta neutral ways they can do it, mining, and I think we will 100% do that as a country. But I think market buying is still absolutely on the table. So that would not shock me if that does transpire in the next 6 to 12 months, and if so, that's going to be a shock. But even putting that aside for now, I still think once these rate cuts start, like, yeah, markets may have priced in the initial decision, but the actual money flow, the capital flow, all the capital that's sitting in money market accounts at these high interest rates, I don't think that actual movement is priced in by any means. So I do think the primary trade is up. We've got the U.S. government effectively trying to outgrow an inflating debt. And that, to me, the primary trade is holding assets. You want to hold the best assets. You want to hold AI assets and hard assets. And I think Bitcoin is absolutely in the mix. I'm wearing the propaganda hat here today. Another headline that boosts my core thesis here is that there is more buying power to come. Walter Bloomberg here tweeting the results of this Bank of America survey. 67% of fund managers don't hold any crypto. Only 8% have even started some kind of structural crypto investment. 84% have not. These feel like staggering numbers to me still at this point, this late of 2025. And like we joke on CT about, sidelined, but quite literally, a massive majority of fund managers who control capital, huge piles of capital in the United States, probably across the world, are not allocated to this industry. So I think the question is, do you think they will be allocated? Do you think these numbers will change in 2026, 2027, 2028? Are we actually early, or are they just never going to come? Do you ever read on that?
Yeah, I think they will be allocated in some way. I think it's inevitable. For all the reasons that I just shared about Bitcoin's potential long-term benefits. I mean, people are going to come on board as it gets easier and easier to do so, right? And it has gotten easier. It's not to suggest that it has not, but it's only going to get easier for these funds, for people retirement accounts. Some of that is going to flow. The bigger question is, of course, at which percentage. Apparently, these folks are not like following Dalio. Didn't he say like, I don't know, some like absurd like 15 or 20% number?
Maybe. Oh yeah.
Something like that. Which that's around like my percentage, but in terms of these funds, we'll see, if and when they get there. Of course, I think they'll probably start a little bit smaller than that, but any percentage allocation is good for us that think we're early, right? I do think we're early in that regard. So I think it will come. Anecdotally, Tyler, not to speak of fund managers in particular, but this tracks for me. I don't know anybody outside of our little bubble that owns crypto. None of my friends, I'm 32 years old. None of my friends who, at this point in time are starting families or settling down, presumably have higher discretionary incomes than they would have had before. None of them are buying Bitcoin. None of them own it. None of them care about it at all. So this totally tracks with me. I know those are two different things, the funds versus retail, but it doesn't shock me. But I do think they will eventually own it in some way, shape, or form. Yeah.
It tracks with me as well. I think a lot of investment managers, not only are they not allocated, they just flat out don't like it, or maybe go as far as hate it.
Yeah.
In general. And Mando made a point about this, but effectively it's so difficult for them. And I'm putting words in their mouths. I am projecting. I'm fully aware of that, but I like to project. I've got my opinions that they effectively hate it because they missed the trade. And they're investment professionals who showed up to their desk every day for the past decade and have somehow missed this new global monetary system that has 1,000x in value, and they have to live with themselves for that.
I sort of get that.
They want to go to zero because then it justifies them missing the trade. Because
I sort of get that.
The whole time. That makes sense to me. Moving on is not just Bitcoin. Solana, Sol Season. I thought maybe Sol Season would be slowing down, folks. It does. That's not what Kyle Samani says. Hold my beer, says Kyle. We're putting our foot on the gas. $4 billion at the market equity offering program they just announced. This is Forward Industries, Forward Stock, FORD. not to be confused with the car company. They announced after they just bought 6.8 million Sol, $1.6 billion worth, basically over this past weekend. They did it very rapidly.
Yeah.
And I was that caught me off guard a bit, and I should have been thinking a few steps ahead. I was caught off guard by how quickly they went through all their funds. I should have known they had line of sight to more capital incoming, and in fact, they do. $4 billion. Logie, reactions to this massive headline this morning?
Yeah. One, I mean, they jumped all the other Solana treasuries very, very quickly. But they telegraphed it, as you mentioned, that this was going to be, they wanted to be the largest. They're going to be the pathway to institutional money into Solana, and they're going to put their foot on the gas. They made that clear. So if the actual acquisitions didn't make it clear enough, not necessarily surprised in any way. One of the things that definitely tracks with me here again is, I don't know if you guys talked about on the show, Bitwise CIO Matt Haugen, or I'm not exactly sure if I'm saying the last name right, a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago this time, shared that Solana has this end of year run potential given the demand from these DATs, the potential ETF applications and approvals coming as well. And this just follows right along, right? You've had DFDV, you've had Upexi, you've had some others in there buying slowly, but now you have like a real giant, adding serious weight. Just to give some scale here, Forward Industries bought 6.8 million Solana, right, for 1.6 billion. The other two that are like kind of right behind it, it basically doubled their combined holdings. Upexi and DFDV have about $400 million worth of Solana each. I think around 2 million Sol each. So it basically doubled those numbers, almost doubled those numbers in one buy, and of course now almost tripled what its pipe was. So a lot of buy pressure coming. Definitely sets up, I think, that potential end of year.
I keep going back to the market cap ratio math between Sol and ETH. We just saw what the ETH DATs did, ran it from 2,500 to 4,900 in a handful of weeks. If you add up the top 10 ETH DATs, we're talking 15, 16, about 17 billion in buy pressure, which is a ton, right? And we saw what it did. So where are the Sol DATs at cumulatively? So Forward Industries alone is now at 5.5, assuming they get through the 4. We know there's Helios just did $500 million. That's 6. We know there's a few other multi-billion ones. So we're talking 10, round up a little bit, plus the existing.
Yeah.
ETH is 4x bigger than Sol.
And that's the exact point that the Bitwise CIO made. Not to harp on that, but it makes sense. It's a supply demand thing, right? When you have that much, demand coming, you take a look at the market caps relative to Bitcoin and Ethereum. Makes sense that that type of buy pressure would lead to a potential run up. The part for me that is like more difficult, of course, is understanding how much is priced in or not, right? It felt like, I don't know, anecdotally speaking, it felt like the last few weeks you've seen the shine come off ETH and you've seen people get more reinvigorated about Solana. A lot of that probably has to do with the pump trade. A lot of that has to do probably with just meme coins being on the timeline a little bit more, in my algorithm being geared towards that. But it doesn't feel like overly so. Like I felt like in the beginning of the year around the Trump meme coin, all that stuff, the actual Solana all-time high, that felt like overwhelmingly people were like, okay, this is, Sol is the horse to bet on. I don't feel that right now, despite maybe an outperformance in the last week or two.
Oh yeah. It's not the public consensus trade. Like it will be at 300 or 320. The other aspect of this, but to give the full picture, it wasn't just the ETH that's pumping ETH. The ETH ETFs also had that massive inflow streak. And I'm showing you see the green bars here on the chat. So it had the DATs plus the ETFs. Solana is not going to have that. So we do have to.
Well, it could have.
Not to this degree, right? We know that the ETFs are coming, the staking ETFs are coming, and they're going to get some inflows. Look at this is the current Solana ETF inflows, the CoinClass.
Yeah, there's just the one, right? The SSK.
It's getting $10 million. It's this biggest day of the month, effectively. So there's be more. Assume that it goes up, but it's probably not going to go up to 100 million. Maybe it goes to 20 to 30. Maybe I'm wrong, but I guess just putting that aspect of it in perspective. So it's not going to have the combined flows, but still quite a bullish setup. I think Solana is going to all-time high this year, and its apps are firing on all cylinders, right? I mean, love it or hate it. I'm trying to find where's my DeFi Llama tab? There it is. Let's look at 24-hour fees here. What do we got? Pump. Well, let's do revenue rather. Pump, 2.93 million. Over 10% ahead of Hyperliquid on the day in fees. And then over on the week, they are neck and neck. We might be a couple days away from Pump flipping Hyperliquid on the week, which is going to be fairly eye-opening, I think, for some folks.
It's only 20% off all-time high. For some reason, I was thinking it was a little higher than that. Or sorry, like a little bit of a wider disparity. I'm seeing. Yeah, no, sorry. I'm talking about Solana.
Oh yeah,
it's
within range.
19.9%. So I'm looking at CoinGecko, 293.31 from January 19th, which I think was like the exact day of the Trump launch.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And that's like hard to count, right? Like that doesn't even register on the coin market cap chart. It has the peak at like 262.
Oh,
and
really?
It definitely did go. It went to 290.
That's a super wide gap. I'm surprised they're that far apart.
Briefly, right? And I tweeted this out from a market cap perspective. It's basically at all-time high right now with inflation that's taken place since January.
It's interesting. Sorry, one last anecdote on this, Tyler. I'm just thinking back. I interviewed Leah Wald, who's the CEO of Sol Strategies, they're a Solana infrastructure firm, publicly traded, just got listed on the NASDAQ, but they've been publicly traded for a while on the Canadian Stock Exchange. I was talking to her about, they're kind of like the first Solana treasury. Actually, they started buying Solana last year, like far before these other DATs. They're much smaller in nature. They have about 450,000 Solana. But anyway, I was asking her about how her feelings have changed about Solana since like all this madness, right? The DAT stuff, the Trump meme coin stuff, right? They were buying well before this. She said she's only more bullish. Of course, incentivized to perhaps say so. Not necessarily a response you would expect not to get or something like that. But that was just interesting to hear. It wasn't kind of like, in line with expectations, even more bullish. I don't know, just a small anecdote that stood out to me after I talked with her last week.
I'm seeing a double cup and handle on the all-time Solana chart. I'm distracted from Logan's Sol Strat commentary, just zooming in on this double cup and handle that Sol's paying. So yeah, I do think this is going to resolve higher, and a pretty easy narrative to understand why that is. Kyle Samani going on the tour. I think he went on Thread Guy's show. I'll have to try to get him on this show. I want to hear from him directly. I went there on Pump. We've been talking about Pump a lot this week. I don't know if we have to really dig in more. Creator fees have gone down a bit in the past 24 hours. I don't think that's going to shock anyone. A lot of those creator coins have largely gotten wrecked. Bagwork down at 7 million, down from 40. Kind at 15, down from 40. Streamer, I think, is hanging out around 5. A lot of launches. Micah did a coin last night. Johnny Sins was streaming last night. They're clearly a lot of folks still lining up to do the streaming and launching the streamer coins, but it seems like we're quickly speed running the smaller roller coaster loops.
It feels like sort of like the Friend Tech Key thing where and I don't mean to equate the actual like mechanisms too much, but once you saw how easy it was to pick up a little bit of free money, like if you were notable in any way, shape, or form, you created the key, 1 million people bought it, you made a ton in fees, and then whatever. You could let it die, it died, people moved on, whatever. I'm getting the same sort of vibe right now, even though I feel like the mechanism is different. Perhaps there's something greater to come from this. That's just unfortunately a little bit of what I'm feeling seeing this.
I said the same thing, and I called out someone earlier that there's a disalignment. Holders and streamers are not aligned. As a streamer, you just want pure volume. That's how you make your money. You don't care if the token goes up. In fact, like Wizard of Soho pointed this out, he wanted to artificially keep his token down because he maximized fees in that sub 300K range.
Yeah.
And it is such, in so many ways, it is a mirror of the FriendTech situation, right? Like as your FriendTech keys got too expensive, it was too hard for new people to enter. Key owners, people running their rooms, made money on the churn. It really is the same. It's the same pig in new makeup, it seems. With that said, I think there's a difference between Alan and Racer. Alan has a huge war chest, and I don't think he's going to disappear in 2 weeks. So he can make this right. I am curious what they're thinking behind the scenes, and I'm sure they're overwhelmed. Massive queue of folks who want to get in the door. They got to help them out. But they got to change some of these incentives, I think, for this to last more than a few more weeks. And I think it's probably going to come in phases. Anyways, I'm sure we'll be talking about it a whole lot more as things progress. Let's talk OpenSea here briefly. We announced on this show yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, that the final sprint to OpenSea TGE was on. Final phase of rewards. Egg all over my face. Pump the brakes, folks. We got new info from Adam Hollander yesterday. While there will be, what is he saying here? There will be more than one season of this final pre-TGE phase of rewards. So this is the final phase. I want to use the correct words here. This is the final phase of OpenSea rewards, but there will be multiple seasons within this phase. So it looks like we're at least 2 months away from actually getting the token, which on its surface is not a huge surprise, right? I don't think anyone was actually expecting that seed token on October 15th, but it feels like just another example of OpenSea kind of getting in their own way, saying something, and then the truth kind of comes out, and it's a little bit different. Oh, your reaction to this? Did they mislead us? Did we just misinterpret this? Is this our fault?
I think this is our fault.
Oh, come on.
I know.
I don't want to take any blame.
I know. Here's what I'll say. I think if you go back to the initial announcement, I was trying to pull up because I wrote an article, actually got some quotes, I believe, from Adam for the piece back when this original announcement came alongside the flagship NFT collection, et cetera. That was, I guess 2 weeks ago, maybe at this point. I'm trying to just find that to make sure I'm saying the right things as well. But if I remember correctly, they mentioned that the tokenomic stuff would come in early October, right? Full tokenomic details are expected to be shared by the OpenSea Foundation in early October. Just taking a look at that, this was written, I wrote the piece on September 8th. You're not even going to get the tokenomic details until early October. How soon were you really expecting the token? This just feels like crypto Twitter, NFT Twitter, whatever, getting a little too excited and maybe, not I don't know, not expecting anything else. I don't know what else to say. This doesn't shock me in any way. I'm not perturbed by this. Could they have been a little more explicit in the comms? Yeah, probably. Or definitely, right, to avoid this confusion and letdown. But I don't think this is a big deal.
It's not a big deal. Everyone's going to get past it. I need to correct because I've been kind of on the record saying we are in the final sprint. 30 days to go farm. It's not 30 days. So it's probably 90 days. My gut now is tokens December 15th or around Christmas time. It is my current gut read on this.
Yeah. And there's no, again, this is maybe another one of the little calm things, right? It said full tokenomic details expected in early October. That very well could just be, this is the allocation, right? Or, some sort of indication of what the pie chart will look like. It doesn't have to be when will the token come either. They didn't say the token launch date will come in early October or even indications of when the token launch date will come. So they've left themselves some room, probably on purpose, in the ambiguity of the language. And of course, that's a little frustrating to end users, perhaps. But it was either strategic, to protect themselves for testing whatever, or, it's just a minor slip that nobody expected would come to this or whatever.
Yeah. we'll see. The comments weren't that bad. In NFT adjacent news, we've got some new NFT DATs making big moves. So Punk Strategy bought their, I guess technically eighth punk that they've acquired. They sold one. So they have 7 punks now. The token's back at 15 million. Wow. Chart actually looks okay. It looks like maybe it ran too hard. Retraced 50%, starting to maybe form a bottom. So that's my quick TA, my expert TA on the Punk Strategy token. They've already back to 12 ETH. I thought it would be a long shot for them to get another punk today. They're 25% of the way there. Could come tonight. If not tonight, it'll certainly come tomorrow. They hold 7 punks. Punks are 220K floor. So that it's worth 1.5 million just in assets held. So this has been interesting. And we knew copycats were coming, folks. It looks like we got our first one. Pudgy Strategy launched overnight on Abstract. It looks like it kind of slowly grinded up to about a 1 million market cap by 7 a.m. Eastern. Then folks kind of found it this morning as they woke up. The token soared to 3, now pulled back about a full 50%, hanging out at 1.7 million market cap right now. I believe it's bought 2 Pudgy Penguins already. I don't know if you've had a chance to look into this one yet.
Just on its surface. No, I haven't been following the
Let me see
execution.
if I can get the latest. While I look for this, I think a couple caveats. I think a random person effectively launched this. Well, I don't know who the person was who launched this. When I'm saying random, it was not someone affiliated with Pudgies. It was not someone affiliated with Renotic, the team behind the Punk Strategy. So this is separate and distinct. It seems to be a similar playbook. I have not looked into the code of the smart contracts behind this one just yet. So I said DYOR before just blindly aping into this one. I think that it might have two Pudgies already. So if so, it's off to some fast work. I've not seen if they're listing them at 1.2x or not. So we'll dig in, but not surprised to see the first copycat come out on the market. I think expect more of these.
Yeah, for sure.
To come. What else going around the horn? Loki, there's a few headlines. I think Trump is suing the New York Times. Should we get
This is
into
a good
that
one? Yeah, this is a good one. So I read the article from Sander over at Decrypt. Yeah, it's I believe a large, like maybe 1.5 or like $15 billion lawsuit or something like that. I might be messing up the $15 billion defamation.
50 million. Wow, it's 15.
It's a massive lawsuit. I believe it extends, of course, beyond the meme coin. But alleged that I think it's up to 4 different reporters or articles and or one book just irreparably harmed his good name and whatever else is indicated there. The funniest part about this to me, Tyler, is if you actually go through the articles that are referenced in the lawsuit were written in like late 2024. So this is 3 to 4 months prior to the launch of the Trump meme coin.
Yeah.
So that part to me was the most laughable part here. I don't have too much else to share. I didn't actually get into the actual lawsuit itself. I don't know how, it's coming from the president. I don't know how likely it is that suits like this just get tossed away, but it feels like any reasonable judge that saw that, these were written 4 months prior to the launch of like a meme coin like that would at least strike that portion. If you can. I don't exactly know how the legal system works in that way, but yeah, kind of funny.
Meme coin project and other business interests. So it looks like they're also talking about some stories that hurt the stock of Trump Media.
Yeah, I don't believe any of the other crypto components. So like, I don't think World Liberty Fi or anything like that was mentioned. So.
Sure. So maybe broader, probably just tie him up a little bit, but not a huge surprise. We'll see where that one goes. And then an interesting headline out of LimeWire. LimeWire's back, huh? Give
Well,
us
they
rundown.
yeah, LimeWire's been back actually.
Yeah.
I mean the NFT sorry, I should say Web3 brand now, right? Of course, the file sharing, is that what you would have called it? I didn't actually use LimeWire. This was a little bit probably before I would have been really listening to music on
Not
my
a rule
own.
breaker, that Logie. Not a rule breaker.
Oh, and I'm not a rule breaker, no, or at least try not to be. But nevertheless, they have been in Web3 for a bit. I believe their project now, which is like more or less decentralized file sharing and stuff, has like 2.4 is claimed to have 2.4 million monthly users. So not too shabby. But all that being said, they spent $230,000 to acquire Fire Festival, of course, from the famous, I think Hulu documentary and music festival with Billy McFarland and Ja Rule that like blew up and was terrible. Like one of the worst reported music festivals of all time, if not the worst one. I guess did it even take place? Like people went, but was there actually any music? I don't even know if there was.
I think so.
Yeah. But all that being said, right, they acquired the brand. They're going to try to do something, but they don't have anything outlined yet, right? This is kind of just like maybe there's a fit between LimeWire and Fire Festival, given the music stuff. They're going to try to plan over the next 6 months. They're going to try to make it lighthearted and fun, not some like super serious music festival. At least that was my read based on the article over at Decrypt.
Yeah, fun little story. Fire Festival. I mean, it's an interesting brand. It's provocative, right? It evokes emotion when you hear it. So
yeah,
maybe
these are the type of community takeovers that we really like to rally behind.
Indeed. So continuing to go through the list, there's another headline. I don't know if folks saw this. It caught me off guard. I totally missed on the timeline yesterday. It looks like a Tether co-founder, and let me pull up his name. I don't have the name handy. Reeve Collins. Yeah, Reeve Collins, chairman and co-founder of Tether, has launched stable STBL. It is effectively a stablecoin focused protocol looking at ways to generate yield. And you go through their website, you see stablecoins 2.0, how it differs from stablecoins 1.0. So we had Plasma and the XPL token tied to Tether. Now there's another Tether adjacent token, stablecoin protocol out there on the market. I mean, immediate appetite for this thing. It ran straight to 1.7 billion in its first day of trading. It is very low float, so the market cap's only 82 million. So what, 5% of the token is out or so. So know kind of where you're at. There's a lot of tokens still coming on this. Clearly, there is an appetite for anything with the stable coin tag in it right now. Anything Tether adjacent. Combine stable coins and Tether, and people are going to open up their checkbooks, their digital checkbooks, and send some capital at this. I wonder, though, when does this become crowded?
Isn't it already crowded? I mean, it sort of feels crowded. Although, right, there's been headlines that every company you could ever imagine will have its own stable coin, right, in some sort of stable coin play. You've got Stripe and Paradigm working on Tempo, right, and all these other stablecoin adjacent things. It feels crowded, but I don't know. I like it. At the same time, it doesn't necessarily feel like there's too much investable, if that makes sense. Like, of course, you could have done well if you were in on this STBL really early. But like, what else are you going to invest in? I mean, it just feels like a sector that is going to continue to grow, but I don't know the best way to benefit from it, given all the fragmentation that is likely to come.
It's funny you say that. I was actually looking at stable coins in the overall stablecoin market cap yesterday. I don't know if folks saw this.
290 billion.
3 billion in stablecoins have been minted on chain in the past 4 days, including 2 billion in the last 24 hours. So money is coming on chain. It's coming rapidly. But yeah, when you zoom in on this chart, since 2025 began, the 2025 stablecoin market cap back in January was right around 200 billion. 208 here on January 4th. It's 290 right now. So 80 billion has come on chain, effectively a 40% jump in 9 months, 9.5 months. So this is just up and to the right.
Yeah.
And
still expecting like what? Like Besant said 2 trillion or something like that. I mean, that's a 10x from here, or a little less than 10x, but
it probably accelerates, right? Like I wouldn't expect this trend to necessarily slow down. I mean, so where were we at since 2024? Wow. So we're up over 100% in stablecoin market cap since the beginning of 2024 rather. So people want to bet on this trend. People want to invest in the trend of stablecoins going up and to the right because they are going to continue going up and to the right. There's going to be a lot of new players. We might end up in a very fragmented stablecoin landscape where every bank has their own stablecoin or every payments company has their own stablecoin. We're clearly seeing that a bit right now with Tempo, with PayPal, World Liberty Fi has their own stablecoin, right? It's definitely crowded, but the assets are going to keep going up and to the right. And I think there is still a question, like, does this equate with crypto majors growth, or can it happen in a vacuum? Like, is there a world where total stablecoins are at 500 billion next year and our crypto majors are the same price?
Probably.
I struggle to see it personally, but I think there is certainly a scenario where it happens. I mean, they're not necessarily causal, and there's ways that each can outperform. But I think in general, my view is that as more capital comes on chain, it will lift the majors a bit, not 1-to-1 by any means. I mean, clearly, stablecoins are up 40% this year. What's the overall crypto market cap up this year? They don't have year to date, of course they don't. Let's see. January 1st, we were at 3.4 trillion. We're at 4. So we're up 20%.
Yeah.
Year to
Not
date,
bad.
one's outpacing by about 20%. And of course, stablecoin market cap is part of this as well. But it's an interesting trend. Expect more of these to come. And clearly the demand is there. We've got a few minutes left in the show. There's an exciting mint today. I don't know if this one's on your radar, Logie. Let me try to find the tweet I've got on this. Yeah, from Roto, great entity collector, commenter, analyst about the space. So Jack Butcher, Gas Wars, does go live on OpenSea, I believe. He's saying 6 p.m. CEST. I want to say that's 1 p.m. Eastern.
I think we're 6 hours ahead. Yeah, 1 p.m. Eastern or noon Eastern.
All right. So
or actually, I guess, is there a 5 hour ahead at some point? I don't know.
It's probably on OpenSea's website.
Central European summertime, right? I think it's 6 hours.
I thought Gas Wars was. Let's try to find this. But anyways, while I try to find the exact times, Gas Wars is the second to last Art Blocks curated mint. It is coming from artist Jack Butcher. So it looks like OpenSea is doing a Spaces, actually live against the show with Jack. So I'm sure some folks, looks like 1,000 folks tuned in for that one to talk about the project. It's 500 NFTs. It looks like it's going to be open for 500 seconds. So it will be a literal gas war. And as I understand it, I believe the tokens go up in price and they're all very, very cheap. I think like $1 to $499 at the top of the end, at the top of the spectrum. And then each one is this little airplane with different symbols on it that are generatively created. So fairly cheap entry price. Jack Butcher name, second to last Art Blocks curated. Not too hard to paint the picture that there's going to be some secondary demand. Are you going to be going for this one, Logie?
I'm not going to be, but I do like it for all those reasons you said. And also, too, there's just some symbolism here that's a nice way to kind of wrap out Art Blocks, the curated collections, right? if you remember back to Art Block Summer, I'm sure you're keenly aware, just the gas wars that entire time. For not just art blocks, right, but for every NFT mint. So I think this is a really convenient way and a poignant way to sort of tie off the collection. So Jack is a fantastic at doing that and kind of layering in those. I don't even think it's really too hidden here, but those symbols and synergies with the market and the community. So I'm a fan. I will not be looking to participate. I don't know what I feel about art on chain right now. There's a place for it, of course. I think, a lot of X Copy Works, Sam Spratt, ACK. Like, I think those guys have Claire Silver, right? I think a handful of artists have immortalized themselves on chain and will forever, get some sort of premium for the works. I don't know. Overall, I'm kind of in this weird spot where like I want to collect the stuff because I like a lot of the stuff. Most of the things of like the really, really good things I'm priced out of, Grant Yunes, et cetera, right? But I don't have a strong pull to buying anything on chain. And part of that is unfairly me thinking about the financial ramifications of like, why would I buy it when it's going to be like not worth anything? That's a little unfair to the artist, perhaps, but that's a little bit of what I'm thinking, and I'm sure probably a lot of other Web3 collectors are thinking as well. Right? Like,
it's fair. You're being very polite. You're kind of dancing around.
I'm being polite, but I do want to collect some of the art. Like some of the stuff I actually enjoy looking at. Right, passes the look test, but I'm just in my head of like, I don't know.
There have been millions and millions of art NFTs minted since 2021. A huge chunk was minted in 2021. There's 200 collectors. 130 went to Toledo this past weekend. That's probably half of the avid collectors in the space. And maybe I'm exaggerating a bit. It's probably more than that. I bought enough art in 2021 to probably last me a lifetime. That's just the reality, right?
Yeah.
Like I have hundreds of art NFTs. They're not all super valuable. Some are more valuable than others. There was a huge influx because of traders. And now there is no trade.
There's no trade.
It is pure collecting. And that's healthy. But we also have to be very real about where we're at in what is probably a 50 to 100 year plus digital art cycle. We're very early. There's not a whole lot of people here.
We are so early.
Now, I think I see the thesis, like the power law for Grail digital art prices at the high end. I think are going to go so high.
Yeah, I'm with you.
X copy is going to go through the roof. Beeple's going to go through the roof. I think Sam Spratt has a good chance to be in that echelon as well. But it doesn't mean that every Art Blocks curated collection of 500 NFTs is going to go high.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. And I think, right now, the last 3 years have been a fantastic time to accumulate those pieces. Should you be in a position to do so? I'm not in a position to be, leveraging my financial future on X copy right now. Unfortunately, had I hit that Powerball jackpot a couple weeks ago, maybe I would have gotten a couple X copies. but right now, unfortunately, I need to sit by the wayside. And I do still really like the thought of, sort of collecting from, earlier emerging artists, sort of that rookie card feel, right? I come from the sports world. I still really, really enjoy that. And that was part of what I think spurned some of the mania as well. In 2021 was the feeling that these people coming on chain for the first time, creating their works, would continue to do so and to only continue to grow their profiles. Most of them have not. Some have done so very successfully. ACK, Sam Spratt, et cetera, right? But we'll see. I think it's an interesting thing to pay attention to. Right now, I'm hands offish, but I want to keep appreciating it because I do really enjoy a lot of it. Even the really weird abstract stuff I like. I'm an enjoyer of all types of arts.
I miss one of the fundamental drivers as well is the wealth effect. Does it feel like anyone's
true.
feeling wealthy on chain right now?
In some pockets, small pockets.
Very, very few pockets.
You know what we need to do, Tyler? We need to create a Solana meme coin where the fees go to establishing an X copy reserve.
That's going to happen. We talked about that on Underexposed. I think there'll be an X copy strategy. There's some debate about what it should buy. I said it would be interesting if it was max pain because of the turnover versus like a Grail piece, which is going to take forever to buy.
You know, the surprising part about all this is that X copies work doesn't do a lot for me. I'm not like a glitch style. I'd probably rather own like a Grant Yoon or something like that, just personally.
Well, understandable. One Grant Yoon sold a piece yesterday for like $40,000 or so. I think it was not.
I'm still holding my one Grail pieces. I'm still holding one of Fuo's pieces. Yeah,
there you have it. But instead of an X copy strategy, what we really need is to all get rich on chain, and then we'll start buying more digital art. I can promise you that. As soon as I'm feeling very rich on chain, I will buy more digital art. But not there just yet. Maybe we'll get there today. Daddy Pal, send us there. Stop being late. Stop being too damn late. Cut the damn rates. We'll find out in a few hours, folks. Thanks for tuning in to today's FOMO Hour. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Until then, go make it a beautiful day.